I got mine.
All right, week 6 is underway. No early morning football on to distract us this morning, unless you're watching Premier League soccer like I am. But other than that, we got a good slate of games today starting at noon. We got our bye weeks, couple teams on bye weeks this week. So here we are, week 6. After today, will be a third of the way through the regular season.
Yeah, definitely a good point in the season to see where you're at with your fantasy team and see how it's going. See if you're competing for playoffs or if you're trying to go ahead and wave the white flag about that time.
I don't have a white flag to wave, but I'm there in a couple of my leagues already. Not gotten off to the start that we anticipated here.
I'm there in one of my leagues because apparently I could just not pick a quarterback because they just keep getting hurt.
Yeah.
So stay away from the Niners this week. I had to go get Jimmy G.
Who do you have today, Brant, that you expect to have a good game here?
So I went out and I pulled out 2 actually, and Tyler Lockett. He always does it against Arizona, so he's a guy that I'm trusting this week. I know he's coming off a big game, so it's not going to be unexpected if he does it again, but he always seems to tear up Arizona. This one's my unexpected one. DJ Moore with the bounce back with PJ Walker at quarterback this week. It's the takeover of the Walkers this week with Kenneth and PJ, and I expect DJ Moore to have a bounce back week and find himself back on track. Obviously, he hasn't been doing very well, so I don't think the Rams are going to really game plan for him. I think they're going to game plan for CMC, but I think DJ Moore might get back on track.
Well, it's a good thing both the aforementioned Walkers are more athletic than the Walker on the Fatboyz podcast. There'd be no fantasy stock getting placed in that.
Absolutely.
I think I look for Alec Pierce to continue his recent string of good games here this week with the Colts playing or hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Alec Pierce continues, the work of being up there in targets and receptions and yards. I think he finds the end zone this week as well. So Alec Pierce is a guy that I'm pretty excited for this week.
Yeah, definitely. I expect that team to figure that get back on track and start to really catch their feet and get them underneath them and start to get moving forward very well.
Okay.
As I look through the weather, I don't see any weather really affecting too many games this week. Looks like pretty decent forecast for this week. So I don't see weather being a factor for many games.
I am excited to see what that Rams backfield looks like this week with the news of Cam Akers and him kind of stepping away, waiting for a trade. I think it'll be really interesting to see what Henderson looks like getting a full game script as the guy. I think eventually, unless they figure it out with Cam Akers, Kyron Williams will cut into that at some point this season. But I'm interested to see how that plays out today.
I wouldn't be surprised to see. Who was the other one back there? Malcolm Brown. I think he's still on that roster. If he gets a few snaps there, I could be wrong on what I'm thinking about.
He is. He's still there.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a few touches.
Okay. Brett says, where do you rate Deion Jackson for a flex spot with JT and Hines both out? For me, I think he probably rates pretty high there. There shouldn't be a whole lot. Philip Lindsay looked okay, in the game against the Broncos Thursday night when he had to come in and spill Deion Jackson a little bit. I think it'll probably be a pretty good committee between the two of them. But Deion Jackson, definitely looked pretty good in his touches. If I didn't have anything that was a whole lot more appealing, I'd probably play Deion in the flex with relative confidence. I don't expect that game to be a high-scoring affair. I think there'll be a lot of running on both sides of the ball there. So, yeah, I like Deion Jackson this week.
Yeah, that game's set to be one of the lowest. Actually, it is the lowest scoring game this week. Over under wise. I expect a good heavy dose of them, especially against the Jacksonville's struggling rush defense. So I like that for a flex start this week. Um,
Absolutely.
I mean, there's obviously quite a few names I would have over the top of him, but he's definitely very serviceable this week.
Jennifer, Tampa Bay defense or Niners? Um, the one thing I will say about the Tampa Bay defense is Kenny Pickett has definitely seemed to be pretty aggressive with throwing the ball at this point. So I think there'll be a couple turnovers that Tampa's able to get in that game. And with the Niners against Atlanta, there's some injury issues on that Niners side of the defense. So I think I'm probably going to lean Tampa here, but I think either way, you're probably getting pretty good points out of these defenses.
Yeah, both of them are going to be good starts. I expect a low scoring game between Atlanta and San Fran, so I don't think points will be too much of an issue knocking your defenses this week. So either one is a very good start. I'm actually leaning the Niners. I'm leading Tampa Bay because of the injuries on the Niners side of the ball. They got banged up pretty good last week, so I'm actually be leading Tampa Bay.
She says also Njoku or Taysom Hill, or put Njoku in at tight end and flex Taysom or Kenneth Walker.
Well, with Jameis Winston being out still and starting Dalton, I could see a nice heavy dose of Taysom Hill getting in the gadget plays. But that's not trustworthy for me to bank on him to start him in my tight end spot, unfortunately. So I think I'd have to lean to Joke in that one. And it's just not really enough for me to say him at all, really. Unfortunately, he did allow, and that's something you have to live with if he does go off on your pitch. But I'm starting Kenneth Walker. He's the only one that's going to get rush work. DJ Dallas hasn't been able to rush very efficiently with Seattle, so he's in that third down pass role. So I'm going to lean Kenneth Walker, and Kenneth Walker starting to come on as a pass catcher as well.
Yeah, I'm going to Njoku in the tight end spot, and I'm probably starting Kenneth Walker in the flex. I just think Taysom Hill's too dependent on touchdowns, I guess is what I'd say. I think he's going to get touchdowns over the course of the season, and probably has a decent chance today as well with the lack of pass catching options there in New Orleans. But I just think Kenneth Walker's safer. So for that reason, I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker in the flex. Morning, Zach. Too many injuries this year. Do I bank on Gordon's game time decision Monday, or do I look to flex any of the following instead? Goddard, Corey Davis, Zay Jones, or Devin Duvernay?
Oh, let's see. Let's start there. Goddard, got Dallas.
Oh. You got the Jets against Green Bay, Zay Jones and Jacksonville against Indy, and Devin Duvernay with, where are we at with Baltimore?
Against the New York Giants. So I think the Giants have been really good defensively. So those two, I don't know. Unfortunately, with Gordon waiting until Monday, that's always a rough spot. That's tough. I like Dallas Goddard. Unfortunately, I hate flexing tight ends, but Goddard's just been so reliable this year in getting points. So I almost like Dallas Goddard there.
Yeah, I think I'm going with Zay Jones probably for myself. I like the matchup there in division. I think this is going to be one that is really fun to watch. I do expect it to be a lot of running the ball there in that game, but I also think Zay Jones finds himself pretty involved this week. I also think they probably try to get Christian Kirk more involved in Jacksonville after his lack of targets last week, but I like Zay Jones again.
Yeah, I definitely do too. If you get an update prior to games, I'm sticking with Gordon because he definitely has the higher upside than all the rest. I asked in the group, morning, Brian. I asked in the group chat, and I'll ask here too. Russ or Jimmy G in my super flex. I hate that I even have to question this. Russ is dragging me into depths of hell this season. I'm absolutely loving the fact that Russ is dragging everyone down. Not for your fantasy, but I'm happy Seattle's got rid of him. I still think you have to start Russell. Eventually, he's going to right the ship. And I think this is a good chance for him to get right. I like Russell too much.
Yeah, I actually like Jimmy G in his matchup against the Atlanta Falcons over Russ against the Chargers. So I'm probably going Jimmy G in this one. Obviously, Jimmy doesn't have that rushing upside, but Jimmy does have Deebo Samuel, and that's good enough for me. So I would go with Jimmy G in this one.
Tony, struggling at wide receivers, need help. PPR league need 3 of these. Gabe Davis, yes. Zay Jones, Tyler Boyd, and Jacoby Myers. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. Always have great information. Love the cast. Thanks, Tony. Definitely.
Yeah, thanks, Tony.
That.
Appreciate it.
Gabe Davis is my lock for out of all that. That's going to be a back and forth, high scoring, fun game to watch. So Gabe Davis is a lock, and I want to say Jacoby, but he's with the being a game time decision, it makes me a little nervous. But you do need 3 of them. So, oh man, let me look at Cincy here. Cincy's got New Orleans.
Yeah, I don't like Tyler Boyd. He's the one I probably rule out this week just because of the matchup and you don't know what you're getting out of Chase or Higgins. I think I do go Jacoby because if as long as he plays, he's the one there, and then Zay Jones and Gabe Davis.
Yeah,
I think I just leave Tyler Boyd out.
Yeah, I think I'll have to fare with those 3 also. Davis is obviously a guaranteed lock. Jacoby showed that he does have some chemistry with Zappy, and Zay Jones has been doing it all year, seeing plenty of targets and work. So I think Boyd's my outcast there.
Paul says Jaguars or Eagles defense. So you've got the Eagles traveling to Dallas, or you have the Jaguars traveling to Indy. So I think I probably still lean with the Eagles defense here, just because of how good they've been all year. I let them be the guys unless something changes in the foreseeable weeks. I think the Eagles defense has earned the right to be a set it and forget it.
Yeah, I'm definitely leaning Eagles on this one too. Tough decision this week with them playing Dallas, but it's a backup quarterback, and I expect them to get after Cooper Rush and try to make him feel uncomfortable this week.
Sure, absolutely.
Joey asked Rams defense or Baltimore's defense. Let's see Baltimore.
Rams defense for me, and they're going up against a backup quarterback and PJ Walker, an interim head coach there. I go with the Rams defense.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Rams defense also. Even though I do expect a decent day out of DJ Moore, I just don't think they hang enough points to really hurt that defense too much. So I would go with the Rams defense. Ooh, that's a good one here.
This is a good question from Brett. Wonder what is the most logical spot for Akers to go? Bucks, Saints, Bills, Falcons, or another? This is interesting for me because I think there's a lot of running backs out there that potentially could be traded. And out of the potential traded running backs, Alexander Madison, Kareem Hunt, those other guys out there, Cam Akers just isn't better than any of those guys in my mind. So I think it would have to be like a really cheap asking price that the Rams would have to have on Akers. And it's potential that maybe if he's, in their demand and he wants out, whatever else, that maybe that's exactly what's going on. I don't necessarily want to speculate on where he goes, but if I could put him someplace that I'd like him to go, I think the best spot for him to be would be the Bills, fantasy relevancy wise. I think that team's good enough. Akers hasn't looked great since his Achilles injury. And I think if you're going to put him someplace where you want him to have an opportunity to succeed, there's so much going on in that Bills offense that I just think if you add him to it, there'd be so little pressure on him there that I think he could have his best chance to succeed.
Yeah, I'd have to go with the same. The Bills just have not seemed to found a solidified set it and forget it running back. I know Singletary's had his games. Zach Moss had a few decent games in his career, but yeah, I think the Bills is just too much of a a great landing spot for Cam Akers to go. So yeah, I'd have to go the Bills. I know the Falcons are, in need of an actual starting running back, not a receiver / running back, but I think the Bills are too good not to add that piece.
Yeah, I think the Bills just make too much sense. Patriots or Broncos defense? You got the Patriots playing the Browns and the Broncos against the Chargers. I think if I had to go out of those two, I'd probably take my chances against the Browns with the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Patriots too. Belichick always plans well. It's scheduled to be a low-scoring game there, so yeah, I'm going to go with the Patriots defense as well. Jason asks, Mixon or Sanders in a standard league? Wow. Honestly, with the way Sanders is playing, that's actually a very reliable question there. I never thought that those two would be in the same category, but this season they have been.
Yeah, I'm going Sanders in a standard league. I just Mixon, the yards haven't been there. He hasn't looked that great. Then again, neither of the Cincinnati Bengals. And on the opposite side of that, the Eagles offense has looked electric. So I think I'm probably taking the guy that's going to have more opportunities to find the end zone with Sanders.
Yeah, I think this week I'm also going to lean Miles Sanders to start over Mixon. That's weird to say, but yeah, I definitely think that makes more sense. That's going to be a high-scoring affair there, and he'll have plenty of red zone opportunity.
Yeah, Cade Otton. Cade Otton's not really so much of a sleeper after his six reception week last week against the Falcons. But yes, he I'm sure he was rostered and picked up in a lot of leagues this week. I know in every league I'm in, he was picked up on the waiver wire. Also, would you start Boyd or London, sitting Kirk as he draws either Gilmore or Kenny Moore in coverage? Drake London is second in the NFL in target share still, even though Marcus Mariota's been not good. If London starts making more catches and getting more receptions than just targets, I think he's going to be explosive. So I'm going London just based on his target share and the opportunity for him to score.
Yeah, I'll be leaning London also there as a start. Like you said, his target share is too good. Eventually it's going to get figured out, and I don't want to be on the downside of that. And like I said, with the bang up, with the injuries banging up the secondary there in San Fran, I could see London getting a lot of share this week and getting open quite a bit. Should I start Trevor Lawrence or Russell Wilson? Luke asked. Let's see. Jags have the Colts. Oh,
I go Trevor Lawrence. Russ is not doing it for me this year. And, as big a name as Russ is, we all hope Russ turns it around. I know, Brant's, a little, got a little stale taste in his mouth because the best quarterback in Seahawks history left. But I think Trevor Lawrence is probably the guy this week until we see Russ turn it around. But I think Russ eventually will get that figured out. But until I see it happen, I'm probably not starting him much.
Yeah, I'm going to lean Trevor Lawrence as well this week. That's unfortunate to say. But yeah, Lawrence is the guy I'm starting this week against Indy's defense. Two questions and one comment. Darrell Henderson or Jacoby Myers? Darrell Henderson or Garrett Wilson? Both PPR.
I'm going Darrell Henderson in both of these. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know the Rams' run game has not looked good so far this year, but he is going to be the vast majority of that backfield, and you're guaranteed touches there. You're not guaranteed touches with Jacoby Myers. You're not guaranteed touches with Garrett Wilson. I know it's such a down year for running backs, and it almost feels bad to say this as I'm picking Darrell Henderson, but the running back world does not look great this year. But with that being said, I still think I'm going Darrell Henderson in the guaranteed work.
Yeah, I'm going to take Darrell Henderson also. Like we talked about, there's not much behind him coming up. So, yeah, I'm going to lean Darrell Henderson in both of those as well. Brett asks, how comfortable are you starting Matty ice cold in a San Francisco or
In a
super flex
super
league?
flex league? What in
Wow.
the
Wow.
world?
I told you it was a long night. Atlanta does play San Francisco, so I have a little issue, but I know he's not there anymore.
Yeah, he's not in Atlanta.
I've got Winston out, Miles on a bye week.
Mills on a bye week.
Sorry, I'm reading ahead. Maybe you should just read this morning.
I've got Miles Sanders that can take Ryan's place in the slot and just start Geno as only quarterback. The thing with Matt Ryan is he's still up there in the league leaders in yards, passing yards. So he does still have some value in a super flex. So, yeah, I'm probably still playing my two quarterbacks on a super flex. I know Matt Ryan hasn't been lighting the scoreboard up, but he's up there in passing yards. And I do have a fair amount of faith in Alec Pierce getting the job done this week. So I think you start Matt Ryan whether it be in the San Francisco or the Superflex League. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm starting Matt Ryan in a Superflex League as well. The opportunities are too good to be there. He's got plenty of pass catchers to help out that have been serviceable. So yeah, I'm going Matty Ice. Yeah.
Jeff Wilson, Amari Cooper, or Waddle. For me, I think Waddle almost has to be out this week just because of how bad he looked with Skylar Thompson last week. It's so hard to say bench a guy like Jalen Waddle, but Skylar Thompson did not look good. Now, granted, Skylar Thompson's had a full week to practice with the ones, so maybe it looks better this week, but I just don't know if I trust that enough. I think I like Jeff Wilson quite a bit this week against the Atlanta Falcons. So I'd probably rank them just the way you submitted that one, with Jeff Wilson being my 1, Cooper is my 2, and Waddle is my 3rd option this week.
Yeah, I think I'm ranking them the same way here. Jeff Wilson's upside is too good until Mitchell comes off the IR. Wilson's the guy there. So yeah, Wilson, Cooper, and then Waddle. Brett asked, just on Boyd, isn't Higgins banged up? Yes, Higgins is banged up, and but we don't know what we're going to see. He's a game time decision. We don't know if he's going to play or not. We don't know if he's going to play, 5 snaps or 10 snaps like he did last week, and then, field again. So it's just not trustworthy between the two of them. If we get ruling of Higgins, I would have to reevaluate some of the questions there. But until Higgins is ruled out, I can't trust Tyler Boyd to be the 2 there.
Yep.
Let's see. Tony asked, San Francisco's defense, despite all the injuries, or Dallas versus Philly? That one's tough.
Dallas, in my opinion, has if not the best defensive player in football, the second best, right behind Aaron Donald and Micah Parsons. At any chance I get to have him going, with my defense in my fantasy league, I'm definitely not shying away from that. The Cowboys are going to get sacks this week. I wouldn't be shocked to see an interception as well, but I also think there's a decent chance Philly will put some points up, where I don't see Atlanta putting up as many points, but I think I think I'm probably going Dallas in this one, but this is another one that's really close. I think both of these defenses will be serviceable this week. I just think there's more opportunity for bigger points out of Dallas than I do out of San Fran.
Yeah, I like Dallas. If they figure out how to contain Hurts this week, there's going to be a lot of sacks in that game. And I feel like they will figure out a way to contain him quite a bit. So yeah, I'm going to lean Dallas on that one too.
Absolutely. A lot of trade questions this morning. There's talks about CMC getting traded. Do you think he will? And if so, where's a good spot for him? I'm thinking 49ers or Ravens. I don't think CMC gets traded during the season. I think you could see something done after the season potentially. Once the new coaching regime gets figured out and they decide what they want to do there. But this is another one that I think if CMC gets traded, I look for the Bills to make an aggressive push for him again. I just think the Bills are probably one of the best teams in football, and they're just missing that that guy in the backfield. I know, like Brant had mentioned earlier, Devin Singletary's looked the part this year, but he's not nearly as explosive or has the upside of CMC. So I think if the Bills could potentially go out and get a guy like CMC, I don't think they'd hesitate.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to pay the asking price for CMC during the season. And but yeah, I mean, both those spots would be a great landing spot for him. But like you said, if it happens in the season, I see the Bills making that push to solidify that team and finish this Super Bowl push that they're making. Is that Jacoby and Garrett Wilson?
Or is it Jeff Wilson? James, we're going to need you to follow that one up with a first name on that Wilson one there.
Yes, please.
Jordan says, redraft question. Trade CPAT for ETN. I'm 4-1. PPR. I have CMC and Hall shooting for the moon. I assume CPAT's Cordero Patterson.
Yeah.
So yeah, with him being on the IR, if you can get ETN for him, absolutely. I do think rest of season ETN's going to start creeping his way up those running back rankings. And I think towards the especially the playoff push time of the fantasy season, I look for ETN to be a difference maker. So
yeah, absolutely. ETN's snap share has gone up every single week since week 2. So I expect him to slowly just keep creeping in and eventually take over, 60% or more of the snaps. So I definitely think ETN would be the better pick up there.
Daniel says Pittman is struggling. Should I keep him out against the Jags and keep Jacoby Myers in? Pittman really hasn't looked very good this year. Alec Pierce has kind of started emerging the last couple of weeks. Man, Brant, I'm going to let you make your selection on this one first because this is kind of a tough one for me.
Yeah, I'm a very big Jacoby believer. So I'm actually going to lean Jacoby in this game here. I hate saying to bench Pittman because I was very, very high on him this year. But until that ship gets righted, I think I'm going to lean on the number 1 there in New England.
I think I'm going to go the opposite side of it. I think I give Pittman that chance. I just think I like a wide receiver against the Jacksonville defense slightly better than I do a wide receiver against the Cleveland defense. So I think I lean Pittman, but it hasn't been good. So hopefully he gets that right and it happens today.
Right. Let's see. Scroll down.
So Ayuk, Duvernay, or Doubs for the flex this week? Thanks, fellas. This is another good one. I think I'm probably going Doubs. He's really kind of emerged as one of Rodgers' go-to guys. Green Bay's kind of reeling after, their loss to the New York Giants in London last week. And I'm thinking Aaron Rodgers isn't going to want to get beat by both New York teams in a 7-day period. So I look for a big game out of Aaron Rodgers, which will mean that there has to be a big game for some wide receivers this week. So I like Romeo Doubs this week.
Yeah, I like Doubs this week too with Watson out also. So yeah, I like Doubs. I expect, like you said, Green Bay to bounce back hardcore after losing to the Giants. Like we see, the last 2 years after week 1's bad loss, week 2 they bounce back really big. I expect them to do it again this week also. Najee Harris or Ezekiel Elliott?
Zeke. It's Zeke for me on this one. Unfortunately, Najee just hasn't looked good at all. They're playing a great run defense this weekend in Tampa Bay. And Zeke's gonna get his carries in the game. And I like the upside of Zeke's chances of finding the end zone better. Both of these guys are going to be very touchdown dependent to get you any kind of fantasy relevancy. I just think Zeke's got a better opportunity to find the end zone this week than Najee.
Yeah, I like Zeke also over Najee this week. Absolutely. Thielen, Doubs, or Deontay Johnson? Need one, AJ asked. Once again, I'm going Doubs on this one. It would be Johnson, but they're going against Tampa Bay's tough secondary. So I'm going to lean Doubs. I think he's going to have a very, very good game this week.
Yeah, for me, this one's actually the opposite way of it. It's Dobbs is probably where I'm going, but I also like Thielen quite a bit this week. I just don't know how much Minnesota's going to have to throw after in that game against Miami with Skylar Thompson as the starting quarterback. So for that reason, I lean Dobbs.
Kevin asked if Olave plays. Olave is unlikely to suit up this week due to that concussion that he suffered last week. I don't see him suiting up. I think they're going to lean on Callaway and Smith to handle the load this week. So I expect you see a lot of Kamara out of the backfield this week as pass catching.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to necessarily rush Olave back. So I would probably lean against the idea of him playing, but we'll see shortly. Brett says Mac Jones or Zach Wilson. So you've got Zach Wilson against the Green Bay Packers up at Lambeau, and you've got Mac Jones in Cleveland this week.
Mac Jones is unlikely to play. It looks like it's going to be another Bailey Zappi game. So I'm not trusting Mac Jones. I wouldn't even trust him on his first week back coming off that ankle sprain. So I'm going to lean Zach Wilson in that game. I think the Jets are going to have to throw quite a bit to keep up with Green Bay this week.
Yeah, I like Zach Wilson this week over Mac Jones as well. Desan asks Gabe Davis or Deontay Johnson. Gabe Davis. I like Gabe Davis a lot this week. Now, granted, you're not going to see what happened last week happen every single week. I mean, he had an unreal performance last week. Deontay Johnson should get more targets. I just like what happens when Gabe Davis gets the ball in his hands. So for that reason, I'm going Gabe Davis.
Yeah, I'm going Gabe Davis as well. Like I said, that game's going to be explosive and fun to watch. Back and forth, a lot of points on the board. I expect Gabe Davis to have another big week this week. Thoughts on Shane asked thoughts on Wilson. Is he going to play? Pitts are off. Otten in a half PPR. Extra bonus for yards. Yes, I think Wilson's going to play. He got in a full practice on Friday. I do think Russell's going to play. I think he'll be serviceable. I don't think he's going to be anywhere great like he used to be, but I do think he'll play. And it's tough. I think I still have to lean Kyle Pitts. The target shares there. Atlanta's going to, they don't really have a true run game right now. I know they're trying to get it in. I think I still lean Pitts.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I did some deep dive research this week on the Kyle Pitts stuff, and actually a mutual buddy of Brant and I sent me a video that I finally got around to watching about kind of why Kyle Pitts is staying in the block so often, and it all goes back to Arthur Smith's time in Tennessee with the play action passing, and that's really where Marcus Mariota excels, which he really doesn't excel, but that's what he's better at. So you're seeing a lot of Kyle Pitts standing and blocking right now, and I think later on down the season that works out really well and yields really good dividends for Kyle Pitts. But I think we got a ways to go yet before we get to that point. So I think I'm probably actually going to go Cade Otton this week, just because I think you're going to see him potentially have more targets and more receptions than Pitts this week again.
Pick 2, Devontae Smith, Rondale Moore, or Jerry Jeudy, Brett asked. I think I'm going to go Smith. That second one's tough. Smith is my my must out of those ones. I got to go Moore against Seattle's young secondary. I got to go Rondale Moore. I don't trust Wilson fully yet. So yeah, I have to go Smith and Moore this week.
Yeah, I'm going Devonta Smith and Rondale Moore as well. Jerry Jeudy's had a problem with drops again this year. And like you mentioned, Brant, the Seattle secondary hasn't quite figured it out just yet. So I like Rondale Moore this week as well. Adam says Tony Pollard or Tyler Boyd half-point PPR.
I'm going to go Boyd. I think there's going to be Pollard. I'm going to go Pollard. I think there's going to be a lot of dump-off passes in that game for Pollard and a lot of chances for him to get some explosive plays. So, yeah, I like Tony Pollard this week.
Yeah, I'm going to go Tony Pollard as well. Just like you mentioned, I think there's going to be some dump off opportunities. And we really have kind of seen that turn into a 50-50 share there in Dallas. So I like Tony Pollard as well.
Brett asked Mark Ingram a chance to do anything with Olave, unlikely, and Thomas out. Also, Winston unlikely. Do they just pound the football? I do. I think they pound the football and they rely on Kamara. Ingram will be have some type of role. How big his role is, I don't know, because I don't know if they're going to use Ingram or if they're going to use gadgety plays for Taysom Hill. So I think Kamara is one of the only safe starts in that offense this week.
I actually think, not saying that I'd advocate to start Mark Ingram, but I think you do see Kamara and Mark Ingram on the field together a few times this week just because of how depleted that pass catching room is in New Orleans. I think there's a good chance you see Kamara line out outside and Ingram be in the backfield. But I still don't know if that's enough to justify starting him. David says Baltimore or Miami's defense?
Let's see. Miami's got Minnesota and Baltimore has the Giants. I think I'm going to lean Miami's defense this week. I think that defense is going to help them stay in that game a little bit. And hopefully Miami's offense can keep them off the field for, enough time for them to regroup. But yeah, I think I'm going to lean Miami's defense there. I think Cousins always has that chance of multiple turnovers in a game. And I like Miami's secondary, what they've been doing this year.
I actually go Baltimore on the other side of this. Daniel Jones doesn't intimidate me as a quarterback, whereas Kirk Cousins in a non-primetime game slot here has a tendency to do good things. I look for Justin Jefferson to have a good game again this week. Obviously, Dalvin Cook. I'm going Baltimore.
Tony asked, my dad has Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen in a keeper league and needs help at wide receiver. He was offered Jamar Chase and Rondale Moore for Josh Allen. Good trade or no?
I think it's a great trade. I think Rondale Moore's value goes down next week when DeAndre Hopkins is eligible to come back. But I think Jamar Chase ultimately figures it out at some point. And in a regular league where you're not starting two quarterbacks, it's a great luxury to have both of them, but also if you need help at wide receiver, capitalizing on trading one of the two of them makes too much sense.
Yeah, I think it's a good trade as long as it's not a super flex. If it's a super flex, no, don't trade either one. Those two will win you multiple weeks just by themselves. But if it's just a one QB league, absolutely, that's a good trade. Chase is going to figure it out, and I like Rondale Moore when he gets back into his slot role with Hopkins back. I like it. I like Rondale Moore moving forward, even with Hopkins coming back.
Chris asks Knox or Conklin at the tight end spot. You got Buffalo at KC, and you've got the Jets at Green Bay.
Yeah, let's see. Look real fast.
I think I'm probably going Conklin in this one. I thought Dawson Knox was going to be a big part of that Buffalo offense this year, and he really just hasn't been to this point. Whereas Conklin's been pretty well used. So I like Tyler Conklin over Dawson Knox this week.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go Conklin too. Like I said, I think that the Jets are going to have to throw quite a bit to stay in this game. And so, yeah, I think Tyler Conklin could be in store for a big game this week.
David says Miles Sanders or Aaron Jones. This is another one here that this is really interesting. So you've got Miles Sanders against the Dallas defense or Aaron Jones against the Jets defense. I think Aaron Jones is probably the guy, even though AJ Dillon's tearing into that workload a little bit in this one. I'm not so sure Miles Sanders gets a vast amount of yards this week. I think Miles Sanders has a good chance to find the end zone, but I think AJ or Aaron Jones could have several receiving and rushing yards. So I think I'd go Aaron Jones.
Yeah, I like Aaron Jones. Like we said, with Rodgers and Green Bay trying to get back on track after losing to the Giants in London last week, I would expect a heavy dose of Aaron Jones in both the pass and rushing game. So I do like Jones over the top of Miles Sanders this week too.
David says Hayden Hurst or Tyler Conklin.
I'm going Hurst. His target share has been there every week except for one. He's tied in 12 in standard leagues. I'm gonna lead Hurst until the wheels fall off. I'm actually starting him in a couple of leagues myself. So yeah, I'm gonna lead Hurst on this one.
I think if Higgins doesn't go, then I go Hayden Hurst. If Higgins goes, I think I go Tyler Conklin. But it's close for me either way. But I think if Higgins is out, Hurst his game script will go up enough to where I think you give him the clear nod. But if Higgins plays, I probably go Conklin.
Okay.
All right, Brant. Here it is. We've got that downtime. We've got a minute or so here between comments. What are you thinking for food today? What's on the menu?
Food today, I think, is just going to be our little snack and appetizers day. I think we're going to, break out the mozzarella sticks, the cheese curds, maybe make some cheese pickles, kind of in the oven, kind of like fried pickles. I think we're just going to have a little appetizer day just to get us through the whole day and just kind of lay them out and snack away for the day.
Sounds like some constipation is in store for you with all that cheese. For me, it's a fend for myself kind of day. My entire family has packed up, loaded up in the car, and off they went they're going to go have some breakfast at Cracker Barrel or a brunch at Cracker Barrel and go to the store and do some shopping and stuff. So I'll probably be by myself for the first several hours today. So it's going to be a fend for myself thing. So probably chips, just because I'm too lazy to cook anything while I'm watching football. So probably some chips for me today, as exciting as that is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes you just gotta fend for what you got and eat what's on hand. And she's going grocery shopping, so you'll get the pick of the litter when those bags come back in.
Yes, absolutely. and then there'll be somebody here who's not too lazy to cook. So it'll be great this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about these games. What game are you excited to see today? Let's just take over the noon slate, because I think we all know what we're excited to see in the 3:00 games with the Chiefs and Bills.
Well, I will say that's the game I intend to watch this afternoon with the Chiefs and Bills. I'm very much also excited to be paying attention to the Rams and Panthers game at 3:00, just because I want to see what Darrell Henderson looks like as the focal point of that backfield. And I want to see what the Panthers look like now that Matt Rule's not in town and without Baker Mayfield. So that's what I'm going to be paying attention to. In the noon slate, obviously I'm going to be watching my Falcons hosting the 49ers. That's one that I'm going to keep my eye on. But I'm also really, really intrigued by the Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh game. I want to see if Kenny Pickett makes any further steps forward this week, what he looks like maybe in a game that they compete in a little bit better than the massacre that we witnessed last week there.
Yeah. For that noon slate, I'm actually going to be watching the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Indianapolis Colts. I kind of want to see if those offense can get back on track. I know Jacksonville had a down week last week. Indy's been trying to find themselves, and I really want to see what we find out of that backfield with both Taylor and Hines being banged up. So I'd like to see what emerges out of that backfield, and I'd like to see if Etienne keeps emerging as moving up in his snap share too.
Okay. I do think that that Jacksonville game is going to be one to watch, because I'm almost tempted to give the advice that if today is a James Robinson day by some chance, that maybe if you're a James Robinson owner, you look to move him and sell high on him this week if he happens to have a good game, because he's another one of those running backs that is just gonna be touchdown dependent the rest of the year. Much similar to the way of Najee and some of the other guys we've mentioned. But I'm also really excited today to see what Ramondre Stevenson does in New England without, Damian Harris there to take touches. So I look for, excuse me, Ramondre Stevenson to be an RB1 the next several weeks. So I want to see what that looks like against a pretty good defense in Cleveland today.
Yeah. As for the later games today, obviously with the Chiefs and Bills, I'll be watching that one probably on a split screen, but my eyes are all going to be on Seattle. I want to see what the future, we're starting to see what the future in Seattle is shaping up to be with Kenneth Walker taking over that full-blown starting role. We just, we re-signed DK, so we know he's going to be there for the long haul. We got the veteran and Tyler Lockett. Geno Smith emerging a lot more than I thought he would. So yeah, Seattle and Arizona. That's going to be a fun game to watch. It's actually slated to be the second highest scoring game this week by the Vegas over-unders. So a lot of points on the board there, and it could be a fun back and forth game. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know that you pay a little more attention to this. I think this is the last week before the new Call of Duty gets released. So this might be or for the early release, this might be the last chance we see Kyler Murray focused on the NFL.
I'm going to need Kyler Murray to stay focused at least for the next couple of weeks because I want to see what DeAndre Hopkins looks like when he comes back. I don't believe that the new Call of Duty is coming out just yet, but I could be wrong. I think it's somewhere towards the middle to the end of November.
Okay.
But yes, these bye weeks are always fun when you start getting into them because it's interesting to see, how everybody's teams start shaping up when you have to start moving some of those guys that you've had on your bench into your lineup and things of that nature. So.
Absolutely. Another thing that I'm going to be watching in that Buffalo Kansas City game is Clyde Edwards-Helaire work. He seems to constantly be finding the end zone. So I'm anxious to see how that looks there.
Okay.
Looks like we got our next question. Trey asked, need 2 of 4, James Robinson, David Njoku, Taysom Hill, or Deontay Johnson. Taysom, I just don't trust. I mean, we see him all ball out 1 week or 2 weeks. So I just don't know if I trust Taysom Hill, and that's unfortunate. I like David Njoku, and oh my goodness, with Pittsburgh playing Tampa Bay, that really makes me shaky on Johnson. I think I have to lean Njoku and James Robinson out of these two, or the 2 out of the 4.
Yeah, I'm staying with you on the James Robinson one. I do think this is the week that you see James Robinson get some points on the board, which is why I'm thinking maybe you want to look to trade him after this week. So I'm going James Robinson and probably Deontay Johnson out of the 2 of these 4. So that's kind of where my mind's at here. Out of these 4.
Okay. All right. Shane is looking forward to that Giants and Baltimore game for the early, and then the game of the week, Buffalo and Kansas City. I think all eyes are going to be on that Buffalo Kansas City game.
The Giants and Baltimore game could be a really good game. I think a lot of people just forget and don't remember and realize that the Giants are 4-1 right now, or 4-1. So that's definitely one that I think you could see being a better game than it should be. That second game is that's going to be just amazing to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. We're still trying to figure out who the number 2 pass catcher is going to be in Baltimore also. I mean, you got Mark Andrews, and, we all thought it was going to be Bateman, but he seems to not be able to stay on the field too much. So it'll be fun to see how that game shapes out. And the Giants have actually been really fun to watch this year when you get a chance to actually watch them.
Yeah. Sounds like we've got Kyler Murray for at least the next 2 weeks before we lose him. Brandon says COD comes out October 28th. Sir, I'm not sure how you have time to watch this live when Chelsea's playing right now, but I appreciate it.
Absolutely do.
Tony says, would you keep hold of Keenan Allen this season or get rid of him? If you've held him through this point, through all the injuries and all the sitting, I think you go ahead and keep him because when he does play, he's going to be good. Obviously, I think Justin Herbert's definitely missing him. So I think I keep him. I know it's probably been a struggle with him being out every single week, but yeah, at this point, if you've held him through it all, I think you keep him.
Yeah, I'm definitely holding on to Keenan Allen because then he sees Seattle, Atlanta. He sees Seattle, then a bye week, Atlanta, San Fran, Kansas City, Arizona. That stretch of games for Keenan Allen is going to be a good one and a lot of points to be had between all those games. So yeah, I definitely am holding on to Keenan Allen.
Kevin says, "Can I trust J.K. Dobbins today?"
No.
I actually think that you're going to start to be able to at some point. At some point, this is going to happen for J.K. Dobbins. Yeah, I think you can trust that he's going to get a decent amount of work today. I don't know if you can trust that he's going to find the end zone or catch a bunch of passes. But I think you can trust that he's going to get a decent amount of work. I think you probably play J.K. Dobbins. It's not the sexiest play that everybody thought it would be when he went to Baltimore. It's just never really shaped out to be that. I know he's dealt with injuries and stuff, but I think you play J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, I think he could be playable in a flex. I don't know how much I trust him to hang, his projection. The Giants have been pretty serviceable against the run. So it may not be the sexiest play. But yeah, I think he's serviceable in your flex. I don't know if I'm trusting him where most people drafted him in dynasty leagues as their RB1 or RB2. So I think you could trust him, like I said, as your flex, but it won't be the sexiest play. And it may be, cringeworthy and praying that he falls into the end zone.
Well, Kevin did just further clarify that the only other healthy back he has is Rachaad White. So the question then is J.K. Dobbins or Rachaad White?
J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, I go J.K. as well.
We know his workload.
Tony asks if T. Higgins is indeed out, Boyd or Zay Jones. For me, I'm kind of on the Zay Jones train. This year he's been heavily targeted in games he's played. He's been definitely the 1B to Christian Kirk's 1A in Jacksonville. But we kind of saw those roles reversed a little bit last week. It'll be interesting to see how that trend continues. But I do think I like Zay Jones a little bit better than Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, I like Zay Jones too. Over Tyler Boyd. Boyd plays that tough secondary in New Orleans. So yeah, I definitely like Zay Jones over Tyler Boyd this week if Higgins is indeed out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Brant, I did want to go ahead and throw this out there that we're working on something fun for the lives moving forward. So that's something that I want to make sure I get out there that next week we'll have, hopefully next week, maybe a couple weeks from now, we'll have something else for everybody to look forward to. Definitely be ready to jump on your waiver wires again this week for bye weeks coming up next week. But other than that, I think we should have another slate of fun football this week. Again, like I said, after this week, we're a third of the way through the season. So I think at this point, what you're starting to see is not just weekly trends anymore. It's kind of the direction it's heading in, and some of those things I'm talking about are like Najee's disappearing act this year versus last year. There's the Joe Mixon stuff. Like, at this point in the season, these things aren't just trends anymore. It seemed to be season long things that we're dealing with. So this is the point in the season where it's time to start, reevaluating, readjusting your thoughts. And being ready to pounce on your league mates and get ahead of those guys there. So this is the point in the season where if you drafted a guy like Najee in the first round and you're not getting that first round production from him, but somebody else is still infatuated with the name and maybe hasn't been paying as close attention to him, and you can trade him for another big name back or something. This is the time of the year where you start looking to make those moves.
Absolutely. This is the time of year that you start looking, like you said, to make moves, get ready for your playoff run, to make it into the playoffs, and you start looking at some type of strength of schedule for some of these players later on down the down the weeks, you want to start looking at the playoff strength of schedule, who they play, because we're starting to see how defenses really are. Jacksonville and Houston, terrible against the run. So if somebody matches up against them, twice in the playoffs, so you want to start focusing on some of those backs there, and getting ready for it. I definitely be looking at your waivers and everything else coming up. We're covering those on Tuesday as we put out our podcast. So make sure you guys give it a listen and be paying attention. The bye weeks are coming up, so we're going to talk about players to try to get in and fill the voids for some of those bye weeks. I know this week was only four teams on a bye, so
absolutely.
Let's see. Kevin says, is OBJ worth an ad when you're 5-0 in both leagues? Well, congratulations, Kevin, on 5-0. With the way the season's gone, I know that's rough to do, but congratulations. As for OBJ, redraft leagues, I don't know. I don't know what the where he's going to end up. I don't know how quick his role is going to be, how fast he's going to come back. So I really don't think you do add him.
Yeah, I actually disagree here, Brant. I think OBJ is a great stash, depending on what you have to give up and what you have to drop, because it is bye week time. So those benches are going to start having to be used. And like Brant mentioned, OBJ is not currently on a team. I think if he goes to Los Angeles, you can play him a little quicker than he does if he goes someplace else, because obviously he already knows the scheme. He already has that relationship established with Matthew Stafford. But if he goes anywhere other than the Rams, I think it takes some time. So I think he's worth a stash, but outside of that, your bench should have to be pretty deep, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd have to be deep benches if I'm stashing him. David says he thinks Philly and Dallas is going to be a high scoring affair. I honestly am actually on the opposite side. I think we're going to see the defenses really stand out this week, and I think you could see a very lower scoring game than we have from those two offenses.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think this one's going to be super high scoring either. I think this is going to be another fun game to watch, but I'm not sure you see. First of all, if anybody lights up the scoreboard in this game, it's going to be Philly. I don't think Dallas is really going to light the scoreboard up at all right now. Why Cooper Rush is in over Dallas. I just think they play very good ball control offense right now. They don't take a whole lot of chances. I think when Dak comes back, that'll change, obviously. But I think due to the fact that you don't have Dak, Philly's not going to have to throw a ton in this game. I think this will be a good game. I just don't think it'll be a super high scoring game.
Yeah. Dave, we do have a trophy named in our family league after you as the Davo. So it wouldn't surprise me if you accidentally dropped Kelsey or Mahomes. But that's the league that I can't seem to set a quarterback. So congratulations, Dave. You should not be taking home your own trophy this year.
Matthew says, who do I start in my flex? I have Jacoby Myers, Tyler Lockett, Jeff Wilson, Christian Kirk, and Melvin Gordon available. Wow. How do you pick just one out of that list?
I don't know.
It's Tyler Lockett for me out of the mentioned names. But I would like to have to see the rest of your lineup, because I think there'd be a way to get one of those other guys into someplace potentially. But out of those names, just for the one flex, I'm going Tyler Lockett. Yeah,
I'm going Lockett as well. Like I said earlier, he always seems to have his way with Arizona. He's been looked at quite a bit from Geno. Seattle is lighting up the scoreboard, just not finishing the games and still giving us all of us Seahawk fans heart attacks. And Lockett's seen, at least 6 targets in every game since week 1. So yeah, I absolutely like Tyler Lockett out of all those.
Yep. Matthew says his other 2 receivers are Debo and Sutton, running back is Eckler. Okay, yeah, there's no other way to get anybody else in there. Yeah, it's Tyler Lockett. That's a great problem to have if you're having to look at that many names in your flex. So well done, Matthew. Corbin says in his flex spot, Romeo Doubs, Deontay Johnson, or Tony Pollard. Going to be a rough week. Romeo Dobbs has kind of been the guy Brant and I have suggested in a lot of other places this week. I like Romeo Dobbs. I just think that Aaron Rodgers gets him involved, and Aaron Rodgers has a good game. So whereas, with Tony Pollard, you're going up against the Eagles defense that's been pretty good, and Deontay Johnson's got Tampa Bay with Kenny Pickett still trying to figure out what he's going to be. So I go Romeo Dobbs.
Yep, go Romeo Dobbs, just like Kevin just put down there in the comments. Christian Watson is out. So yeah, I'm going Romeo Dobbs. He's looked to be one of Rodgers' favorite targets, and now that Watson's out, Dobbs is going to see more work, and I expect a huge bounce back for Green Bay this week.
Yeah. Kevin asks, is it a good time to trade Hollywood Brown, more back, and Hopkins near returning? Yes, this is a great time to potentially trade Marquise Hollywood Brown. I do think when DeAndre Hopkins comes back, that Kyler Murray gets him going early and often. So yeah, I definitely am moving Marquise Hollywood Brown in any leagues that I own him for the best trade package takes it.
Yeah, especially after this week, he plays a young secondary in Seattle. It's going to be fun to watch his speed match up with Trayvon Woolen out there on the corner. So yeah, after this week, I definitely am looking to move Brown. I don't see him seeing double-digit targets after Hopkins get back. We know how sure hands Hopkins has, so we know he's going to go right back into that one role. And I just don't see how Brown can stay that valuable.
Absolutely. Guys, as always, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for dropping us the questions. If you have any more start sits, the rest of the day, don't be afraid to go drop those in the Fantasyholics start sit post that they'll be coming up live if it hasn't already. Thanks to Josh, for the behind the scenes guy, for making all this work and happen. And we'll see you guys next week.
Next week, Dave, that's the answer for your when does Hopkins come back? It's next week. Against New Orleans. And as always, guys, stay hungry
and stay fat, my friends.